อ Grace and peace, everybody. Grace and peace. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. I'm your host, Allison Johnson. If y'all subscribe to me, y'all know who I am. So let's see who we got in the house tonight. We got GCP Gospel Center Podcast. They in the house right now. Also like and subscribe, just like they said. They got the badge to their name, so that is a person who is a member. Shout out to you, Gospel Center Podcast. Then we also have Rebuke and Reprove in the house. Grace and peace, grace and peace. Let me move this side of me right here. We also got my boy Anthony Schaefer in the house. What's going on, man? Grace and peace, man. Peace and blessings to y'all. Yosuk, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Or Yoski, or Yosuk. If I'm not mistaken, I think that he's in another country. I think he's in England, or he's in London. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. I think I've seen you on Brother Maria's channel. But yes, sir, thank you for stopping by anyway. Got most excellent Theophilus in the house. Thank you, sir, for joining in. And then we also got Darnell W. Says, what's up, good people? So, yes, welcome to the live stream, you guys. Welcome. You know, I always appreciate when you guys come and slide by. Excuse me, and show me some love. So, thank you, guys. Thank you. So if you guys don't know that this is the third live stream that I'm doing, and we are covering the overturning of Roe Vs Wade. And I think in the first video I had Brother Keith Jefferson on, and we were talking about some of the reactions that some people have had when it comes to the overturning of Roe Vs Wade. Yeah, okay, so you say he's from the UK. All right, represent. But yeah, anyway. We kind of covered some of the reactions from some people about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court decision, and it just kind of prompted me to kind of do this particular live stream. I just kind of wanted to do it in one shot, but since we've been covering the Alpha 21 documentary, I decided to kind of just make this into, you know, however many part series. The documentary itself is about 2 hours. I think we're only about an hour and a half into it. But, you know, of course, with me stopping and then, you know, talking and all of that type of stuff, it's kind of prolonging the documentary. But there's a lot of information in it. And if you guys have not seen the documentary, I highly suggest that you guys go and take a look at it. It's called Alpha 21. And, but you guys know, before we get ready to get into this, we got to shout out our members like we always do. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we have Roger Sherman. We have It's Up Now, GCP Gospel Center Podcast. That is them right there. They are a member. We have Pastor Ryan Robertson. We have Leader for Christ. We have Miss Ephesians 2:10, Dunamis Brachus, Joseph Roberts, Nicole Smith, Latrell Hassel, D-Mav, Ambassador Everett. I'm Chris Duke, Anthony Hall, Daryl Lloyd, and Montreal Sure. Give it up for him, you guys. Give it up. And look who we got in the house. We got Pastor Ryan Robertson in the house. Yes, he is a member. I just shouted him out, you guys. Thank all of you guys for becoming members of this particular channel. You know, your patronage is greatly appreciated, you know, like I say all the time. So but anyway, I was kind of in the background trying to get some stuff lined up, and I think that I am about lined up for the let me see, let me go back for the video for the Alpha 21. So I'm almost lined up with that. So we will be let me see. Let me make sure. Yeah, so I think that we're almost lined up, and we are going to be getting into that shortly. So I want to make sure all of this is lined up. But then there's another video I wanted to play too to kind of get some context into what video that I wanted to play. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. Let me see. Okay, hold up. I probably can't find it. I'm going to actually. I'm gonna see if I can, because I watched this on TikTok earlier, and I thought that this was a pretty good video. Actually, you know what? Forget it. Forget it. I wanted to find this video, but I'm gonna see if I can find it later. I'll probably play it at the end of the video. So, without further ado, we just gonna go ahead and get back into this particular video. Moffat 21. If you guys want to know what this particular documentary is, we are going to go ahead and share that. Blow this up. Oh, my bad. There we go. All right, cool. Lyrically outspoken. What's going on? All right, so we're going to unmute that. This is about where we left off last time. And without further ado, let's go ahead and play it. You guys type a 1 if you can hear it. Type a 2 if you can't.
With former Democratic President Harry S. Truman.
John Ehrlichman, who was an assistant to President Richard Nixon, wrote that Nixon once told him that African Americans could not really benefit from federal programs because they are genetically inferior to whites. Later, Nixon would label birth control a national priority and sign legislation to make it available as a service of the U.S. government. Then, in March of 1972, the Commission on Population Growth and the American Future, which Nixon had created 3 years earlier with the help of congressional Democrats, began calling for the nationwide legalization of abortion.
The concept that abortion and birth control could be used to save the government money was well established by this point in history. In 1969, Joseph Kershaw, who was a researcher with the U.S. government's Office of Economic Opportunity, stated that the agency had closely studied the poverty issue and found that the single most cost-effective way for the government to address it was through family planning. In other words, through abortion and birth control. And that sort of thinking is still very much alive today. On January 25th, 2009, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, said on an ABC News program that the government's economic stimulus package should include a large increase in spending for population control. She said that this could save the state and federal governments the cost of having to pay for the health care and education of poor children.
I.e. black people. So keep that in mind as you guys continue to hear some of these, I like to call fallacious arguments, especially when you're listening to a lot of these particular white liberals. Let's just call it for what it is. There's a lot of white liberals who try to make these arguments that abortion is needed because there's a lot of poor women who cannot take care of their children, so therefore they need to continue to have abortions, and we need to continue to make it readily accessible and available for, you know, and they try not to say women of color. Some are radical enough to say women of color, but what they're actually saying is they're actually trying to promote this for black women, because they want to say that statistically speaking that black women are, or black people are the most unwealthy, or they are the people with who don't have as much wealth as everyone else, you know. So therefore black people, and you know, the focus solely needs to be on black people to reduce their numbers and their population. Just like you just heard from this particular lady that in 2009 Nancy Pelosi wanted to draft up a bill paid for by the American taxpayer to go into the spending bill or the spending budget to continue abortions and birth control and all of that stuff, because us as a country, we can't afford to take care of poor people, which in turn is a dog whistle for black people. So this is why you got a lot of these people that's fighting so hard for abortion and to try to reduce the numbers of the black population. And let's just be honest, it's been working. It's been working. They've been targeting the black community. So this is why when you see all of this hoopla about Roe versus Wade, this isn't about, women's reproductive rights or women's health care. No, this is strategically geared towards reducing the numbers of black people. Although there's a lot of people who may not know that, and they may just be ignorant to it. But nowadays, it's just, you don't know who to trust. You don't know who's actually just totally ignorant and dumb, and what people are probably trying to carry out this devious act in order to, just like GCP podcast is saying, trying to push this narrative of eugenics. So it's really, really hard to gauge who's on what side. But us as Christians, we have to tackle this. No matter if you're a person who knows the history behind Planned Parenthood and eugenics for black people, or whether you're just totally ignorant to it, we got to address it.
Not surprisingly, Pelosi has a 100% approval rating from Planned Parenthood.
At one time, it was common to hear politicians and elected officials openly talking about the need for population control in the black community, or saying things like $1 spent on family planning is worth $5 spent on economic development. But since we don't hear that sort of thing anymore, it would be easy to conclude that the government is not still involved in black genocide, but that's not the case. It's no longer necessary for the government to be directly involved in black genocide because that's what they hired Planned Parenthood for. It can't just be a coincidence that at the same time when government population control programs were backing away from specifically targeting black neighborhoods, at that same time, the state and federal funding for Planned Parenthood was being increased by leaps and bounds. To understand the magnitude of the dollars involved here, remember this. By 1970, Planned Parenthood was already the 19th largest health-related fundraising organization in the country. But by year 2000, it had moved into third place behind only the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. And a major factor in that phenomenal growth was government funding. Basically, what's happened over the last 40 years or so is that Planned Parenthood has taken billions in government money while locating the vast majority of its facilities in minority neighborhoods. And that has not only been a tremendous boost for the eugenics movement, but it has also allowed government-funded family planning programs to target the black population while insulating the government from any direct connection to black genocide.
One of the places where government money has been used to advance the eugenics agenda has been in the public school system. Although government-funded population control programs can be found in white schools, the evidence is that they are significantly more likely to be targeted at black schools.
One example of this was seen in 1986, when it was discovered that Illinois public schools were not only distributing birth control to children, but that every one of the 50 facilities involved were in minority neighborhoods. When this information was made public, a local African-American pastor organized a campaign to stop the program. Reverend Hiram Crawford labeled the project genocide, saying that the obvious goal was to go after the Hispanic and black population.
That same pattern was also found in Maryland in the 1990s. Even though the state's teen pregnancy rate was higher among white students than black students, when the contraceptive device Norplant was introduced, it was selectively marketed to children as young as 13 in predominantly black schools in Baltimore.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to what was just said. At this particular school, the pregnancy rate amongst teens were higher amongst the white girls. But they made it their business to give it to the blacks and the Hispanics, to give them birth control, selectively targeting the people who were not even getting pregnant as high as the white girls in this particular school, but they made it their business to give it to the minorities, the blacks and Hispanics. How do you explain that if you don't think that this is genocide? But, you know, I only got just so much time. It's a lot that I can say about that, but let's continue to go back to the video. I'm gonna try to play as much of this as I can without interrupting.
The result was that of the first 350 girls implanted at a local middle school, 345 were African American. Then, when Norplant was approved for general distribution, of the first 100 schools selected, all 100 were in minority neighborhoods.
The Norplant contraception device was developed by the Population Council in New York, which had been established in 1952 under the leadership of its president, John Rockefeller. Its next two presidents, Frederick Osborne and Frank Notestein, were both former members of the American Eugenics Society, and Notestein would later serve on the National Advisory Council of Planned Parenthood.
There is an element of racism in the motivation of some Americans who are promoting birth control. It's interesting to note that family planning abroad is being strongly advocated by some senators better known for their anti-civil rights position. United States Congressman Clement Zablocki, March 25, 1966.
If you're going to curb population, it's extremely important not to have it done by the damn Yankees, but by the UN. Because the thing is, then it's not considered genocide. If the United States goes to the black man or the yellow man and says, slow down your reproductive rate, we're immediately suspected of having ulterior motives to keep the white man dominant in the world. If you can send in a colorful UN force, you've got much better leverage. Alan Guttmacher, president of Planned Parenthood and former vice president of the American Eugenics Society, 1970.
4
Fair
years
use.
after Guttmacher made that statement,
Fair use.
America's National Security Council issued a report that was intended to define the United States government's official policy on controlling world population. It was called the National Security Study Memorandum 200, or NSSM 200, and it was formulated in cooperation with the United States Agency for International Development, the U.S. State Department, the Department of Defense, and the Central Intelligence Agency. One of its goals was to establish a strategy for reducing the populations of third world countries so that the United States could have increased access to their natural resources, particularly minerals and metals.
Among the conclusions of NSSM 200 was that no country has reduced its population growth without resorting to abortion. The authors of the report then identified 3 non-governmental agencies that would be funded to carry out the government's population control agenda in the targeted countries. One of those agencies was Planned Parenthood.
One of the tactics specified in NSSM 200 was that we might withhold food aid after a disaster if the countries do not accept the American idea of birth control, and this has happened many times all over the world.
Alright, I gotta stop it right there. Now, what this guy is saying is true. Because this happened recently, and I think this had to be, I can't remember exactly what African country this was. But I know that in certain African countries, when the whole COVID thing had broke out, they were in a lot of these African countries. I think it was like the UN and some other people. And I know that I heard rumblings about Bill Gates being behind some of these things. But when that whole COVID thing popped off, the first aid that they brought to some of these African countries was contraception and access to abortion. And they were going to a lot of these leaders in these African countries, telling them, and especially with the vaccine, telling them, y'all either start providing abortions and contraception, or we're not going to give you any aid. And this happened, I think, maybe like a couple of years ago when the whole COVID thing broke out. And I've heard this from a couple of African people. There was a lady, I wish I can get her on the show, but I haven't seen her in a minute. I forgot her name. But anyway, whenever, and she confirmed this is an African lady from Nigeria, and she said that whenever there's a natural disaster, let's say like an earthquake or a tsunami or something like that happens, the aid that they first start to try to give to the people is contraception and abortions. And they say that you guys, if you guys want food, you guys want help, you guys want fresh water and all of that stuff, if you want us to come in and help you, you guys got to take the contraception and you got to take the abortion as well. So this isn't just one guy on the video talking about this. And I wish I could play the video, but I don't have time. I don't have it lined up, and I got to go through, a certain amount of videos to try to find that footage of this particular lady speaking on that. And this is like a few years ago. But yeah, it is true. It is true that whenever a natural disaster happens, especially in African countries, they try to get them to take contraception, and they try to press these people into getting abortions. The pregnant women.
One example is the Southern American country of Guyana, which was hit by a hurricane back in 1997. Now, they had turned down abortion and birth control for 12 years straight. But after the hurricane hit Guyana in 1997, the World Bank said, we will not give you any aid unless you legalize abortion and birth control. And that's exactly what they did. I've seen this several times in Africa, where droughts have hit, and the United Nations and USAID will not assist unless they accept birth control. I've been all through Africa myself, and I've seen medical clinics that are full of birth control devices, but no safe motherhood delivery kits. There's no anesthesia, there's not even any bandages there. There's crates and crates of birth control pills and condoms. Now, while our commitment to birth control is going up every year, our commitment to authentic economic development is dropping. So we see less clean drinking water funding, less school funding, see less medical clinic funding. Another example is Haiti. Haiti has been hit by hurricanes several times, and the United States and other countries are saturated with birth control. In Haiti now, any woman, 90% of women at least, can now get access to any kind of birth control they want to, government funded, but less than 20% of the Haitians have access to clean drinking water. Now try to imagine there being a natural catastrophe in a country like Canada or Australia or France or England. And we go in there and we say to them, we're not going to offer you any kind of aid unless you accept our philosophy on birth control and population control. That will be outrageous. But that's our standard operating procedure when we go to a black country after a catastrophe of some kind.
And this is what's not talked about. Everybody is so worried about white supremacy and the white man, hunting down black men in the street. But people don't talk about this because they're, and I think that a lot of people are ignorant to these type of conversations. But I also think that a lot of people want to remain ignorant to a lot of these facts because the folks that are promoting this, like Nancy Pelosi, who they mentioned earlier, these are who the black people look to. They look to the black Democrats. I mean, not the black Democrats, but the black people look to the Democrats in total who support these ideologies, and they don't want to go against them because they've been brainwashed into vote for them, vote Democrat. If you black, automatically vote for Democrat. But this is what the Democratic way of thinking is. You see what I'm saying? So when we're talking about white supremacy, this is it. We're talking about, or when people talk about systemic racism, that's the term I'm looking for right there. Systemic racism. A system put in place to carry out racism. This is it. This is exactly what it is. We have people sitting up in these offices, lawmakers, politicians, saying that this is what we're going to do to purposely reduce reduce the black numbers. He said, man, I hate it. I voted Democratic back in 2020 because I was blind, but this, I didn't read their policies. I wish in 2024 it would be Republican for life. But, you know, at the same time, I think that we just have to be discerning, because there's some problems with Republicans too. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna lie. But I do tend to vote more Republican, because you do have some pro-life Republicans. You do have some pro-choice ones. But the Democratic Party across the board are basically what they call pro-choice, which is what I call pro-death. So, I mean, that's why, like, you know, when they be talking about, like, spending bills and all of that stuff, you really got to pay attention to it. This is why they got so mad at Donald Trump. I'm going to drop a dime right now. This is why a lot of people got mad at Donald Trump, and they shut down the government. What was that? Back in 2016, 2017 or something like that, when they had the government shut down? Because they wanted to put in the bill for $600 million to go to Planned Parenthood. They wanted to take your taxpayer money to reduce the black population. They wanted to give Planned Parenthood, these same people that they're talking about in this documentary, they wanted to give them $600 million in order to continue to operate. And when Donald Trump said, no, we don't need to be giving them $600 million, then that's when the Democrats basically said, well, we'll just shut down the government. So it's a lot of stuff that, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot that goes on. That's why I just tell people, please pay attention to the politics. Don't just vote just because that's what you've been taught to vote. Like, really listen to what some of these folks are saying.
You cannot believe that we are going to treat people in a foreign country like this and not treat our own population of African Americans the same way. Consider what happened after Hurricane Katrina. One of the first things we did was bring in birth control and contraception. And as we all know, the hurricane disproportionately affected black families in that area. And I seriously doubt if the same kind of disaster hit a middle-class white area, the first response would be condoms and birth control.
And I don't know if some of y'all are old enough to remember this. I distinctly remember when Hurricane Katrina hit, they were interviewing some people, like, on the street, like some of these local news networks. And some of these people was just like, man, these folks came down here and dropped out birth control pills and condoms. They're like, man, we don't need no birth control pills and no condoms. Man, we need food. We need help. We need water. I remember that. And I was, what? I was maybe about 22, 23 when that happened. And I remember watching that. Sad. Very, very sad. Oh, hold on. Let me do this. All right.
This idea that population control could be used to control a specific population was not unique to NSSM 200. For example, before the Nazis took power in Germany, abortion had been illegal, except to save the life of the mother. But under Hitler, the Hamburg Eugenics Court ruled that it would still be illegal for Aryan women, but legal for women of what they called inferior racial stock. According to the court, encouraging eugenic abortions would promote racial hygiene and protect the health of the German people. This new policy eventually led to certain women being threatened with execution if they refused to abort what the Nazis called racially worthless babies.
At about the same time this was going on in Germany, the government of Bermuda was blanketing the island with population control facilities and openly stating that their intent was to limit the numbers of blacks. Then in 1958, blacks in the Caribbean rebelled against a Planned Parenthood-led birth control campaign that was exclusively targeted at non-white residents, while at the same time, prosperous white residents were being encouraged to multiply. Following a similar pattern, a 1965 article in the Pittsburgh Courier newspaper reported that under apartheid, the white South African government was relying on targeted birth control as its primary weapon to...
I got a question for Deborah Jones, and I'm reading this comment. She says, this is all about stopping the end of white people. White women get abortions too, more than you think. How is stopping the intentional killing of black babies, the strategic intentional killing of black babies? Because, and she's probably new to this conversation. So this is the third live stream that I'm doing on this. So I'm pretty sure she hasn't seen the other two videos. And, you know, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give her that. But I want you to ponder on that. How is stopping the intentional killing of black babies is somehow trying to increase the white population? These people are bringing out records of how these folks, let me put this up here real quick. These folks have documents, government documents of them saying that we need to reduce the black population. They've said that openly. And they're saying that we can't use certain words like eugenics and this and that. We have to kind of be covert with it. Because they didn't want, if you've been watching the video, they don't want black people, poor black people, to overpopulate the white people. So they have been trying to push abortion. So how is ending abortion trying to help white people? That's what I want to know. How is the ending of the intentional killing of black babies helping white people? And I need you to answer that in the comment section. Please let me know that. But let's continue.
To reduce the number of blacks in the country.
Unfortunately, we now know that the U.S. government was not immune to this sort of thing either. When 3 pro-choice researchers investigated the original motive behind the creation of the abortion pill, RU-486, what they discovered was that the scientific basis for it was actually developed in the United States during the 1960s by the National Institutes of Health at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. In their 1991 book, these researchers claimed to have found data showing that this agency was looking for an inexpensive and effective drug to control the populations of foreign countries that the government had classified as underdeveloped. The abortion pill was to be tested in these environments, and if successful, the plan called for it to then be introduced into Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities in the United States.
In 1977, only 3 years after NSSM 200 was issued, the director of the United States Office of Population, Dr. Reimert T. Ravenholt, publicly stated that it was the U.S. government's intention to sterilize 1/4 of the world's female population. According to Ravenholt, one of the driving forces behind this campaign was the need to protect American financial and commercial interests.
Ravenholt said that some foreign governments were refusing to give the United States permission to come into their country and control their population. He said that, in those cases, the plan was to be carried out by 2 private organizations with an enormous amount of financial support from the American government. When asked by a St. Louis newspaper to name the 2 organizations, he said that they were the United Nations Fund for Population Activities and Planned Parenthood.
Deborah Jones, I hope you just heard that. I hope you just heard that, because you just said that the ending of Roe Vs Wade was, let me go ahead and put this up. You said that this is all about stopping the end of white people. So ending Roe Vs Wade, ending abortion, and actually the ending of Roe Vs Wade is not even about stopping abortion. It's basically just letting the states have the right to determine whether or not they're going to sign or they're going to ban abortions or not. But I want to know how what you just heard, or actually what we see right here. Let me go ahead and make this big. How is this? How's the overturning of Roe versus Wade trying to put an end, or basically this is trying to stop the end of white people? So where did you get that talking point from? Most likely from the same folks who are in bed with Planned Parenthood. Them same folks telling you that this is just they're just trying to stop the end of white people, so therefore you need to continue to support abortion, especially in the black community.
Among government officials who supported the Ravenholt philosophy of using American intervention to control the populations of foreign countries, perhaps the most powerful were Republican President Gerald Ford, Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, and Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. In the mid-1970s, while serving as foreign policy advisor to the Ford-Rockefeller administration, Kissinger personally helped Planned Parenthood set up an abortion counseling program for Vietnam refugees who were being housed at Camp Pendleton Marine Corps Base in California. This was done despite the fact that the vast majority of these refugees were known to be strongly opposed to abortion, and not one of them had ever requested abortion counseling.
At the same time, Kissinger also refused to hold an abortion training program that was being conducted by the Agency for International Development, which...
And I want to go ahead and address this, what Yosuke is saying right now, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. We're not just talking about black people versus white people or anything like that. But what he is saying is correct, and this is where I stand. I don't want babies in general to be aborted or to be killed. But the problem is that they're using black people to try to push for abortion in order for the killing of babies, all colors, all backgrounds, all nationalities, to continue to happen. But they're trying to target black people in order to have them fight for that. So therefore, it can kind of tug on the heartstrings of other folks and say, well, maybe we should continue to have abortion legal because, black people are going to benefit from it. So they try to spin it, just try to make it seem like that if you take away abortion, then it's going to greatly affect black people, and this now becomes a human rights issue. But in all actuality, they're trying to use the racial thing. They're trying to use black people in order to promote the killing of children. So, and that's what makes this so wicked. So, I just want to go ahead and put that out there because I don't want nobody thinking that I'm trying to be super black power and, I'm just like, well, as long as y'all don't kill black babies, it's okay, but y'all can kill other babies. No, killing any baby of any race, color, or creed is wrong. So, I just want to put that out there. Let's continue.
Which operates under the direction of the State Department. Kissinger allowed this project to continue despite numerous complaints that it was in clear violation of U.S. law that specifically prohibited American foreign aid funds from being used for this purpose.
The commitment that Ford, Rockefeller, and Kissinger had for this illegal project may have been a reaction to something Reimert Ravenholt had said a few years earlier. In 1973, he was speaking at a Planned Parenthood national conference where he told attendees that abortion may actually be the most demographically powerful way of controlling population. Ravenholt would eventually be honored by Planned Parenthood for what it called innovation and vision in the population field.
Years ago, a series of USA Today articles documented that there are large multinational corporations on the New York Stock Exchange today that actually got their start in the slave trade. But when slavery ended and Africans could no longer be financially exploited, many of those same corporations began pouring millions into the eugenics movement. The people they had found so valuable as property, they had little use for as fellow citizens. And again, some of those corporations and foundations and institutions are still around today, and every year they still pour millions into eugenics organizations like Planned Parenthood. In fact, if you look at Planned Parenthood's donor list, it reads like a who's who of corporate America. You also have individual elitists doing the exact same thing. People like Bill and Melinda Gates, Warren Buffett, Ted Turner, and many others have used their own personal fortunes to make sure that the eugenics movement never runs short of money. Of course, if you confront these people or these corporations about their support for organizations like Planned Parenthood, they'll tell you it has nothing to do with eugenics. And if someone is naive enough to believe that, that's fine. But to me, it's like someone saying, yeah, I'll give a few $1 million a year to the Klan, but I'm not really a racist.
After the abortion pill RU-486 was approved for sale in the U.S., the controversy surrounding it kept the abortion lobby from being able to find an American company to produce it. That forced them to look for a foreign manufacturer. And after an 8-year search, a company owned by the Chinese government agreed to manufacture the drug for the U.S. market. The company's management made the decision after the Rockefeller Foundation agreed to provide financial backing for the project.
There's also another connection between Rockefeller and RU-486. At the end of World War II, the German chemical manufacturer IG Farben was identified as the company that supplied the gas used in the Nazi concentration camps. The gas was called Zyklon B, and evidence later showed that Farben's executives knew how it was being used. In fact, evidence was uncovered to indicate that Farben engineers had actually designed the gas chambers. This led to some of them being tried at Nuremberg for crimes against humanity, including genocide and slavery. Interestingly, IG Farben was a financial partner with John D. Rockefeller and Standard Oil of New Jersey in a company called Standard IG Farben. In addition, within 3 months after Hitler came to power, the publicity director of Rockefeller Foundation and personal advisor to John D. Rockefeller, a man named Ivy Ledbetter Lee, was assigned the responsibility of directing public relations for IG Farben.
After the war, IG Farben would change its name to become known as Hercht AG. Today, Hercht is a gigantic multinational corporation with subsidiaries all over the world, including the United States. Ironically, one of Hercht's subsidiaries, Rusal-Yuclof, is the French company that developed RU-486. In other words, the same company that produced the gas used in the Nazi death camps also produced the abortion pill that is now being used in American abortion clinics. And in both cases, there was a known connection to the Rockefeller Foundation.
On the week he was inaugurated, Bill Clinton received this letter from attorney Ron Weddington. Weddington is the ex-husband of Sarah Weddington, the lawyer who successfully argued for the legalization of abortion in the Roe Vs Wade case.
26 million food stamp recipients is more than the economy can stand. You can start immediately to eliminate the barely educated, unhealthy, and poor segment of our country. No, I'm not advocating some sort of mass extinction of these unfortunate people. Crime, drugs, and disease are already doing that. I am not proposing that you send federal agents armed with Depo-Provera dart guns to the ghetto. You should use persuasion rather than coercion. Our survival depends upon our developing a population where everyone contributes. We don't need more cannon fodder. We don't need more parishioners. We don't need more cheap labor. We don't need more poor babies.
2 days after being sworn in as president, Bill Clinton issued an executive order that allowed federally funded agencies to refer low-income women for abortions. He also directed that American dollars could be funneled to organizations that promote abortion in foreign countries.
This is what people call him, the first black president. Oh yeah, it gets deep. That's why I wanted to play this live, because I want people to get the magnitude or the full scale of what is actually going on or what has happened behind the scenes. You want to talk about systemic racism? This right here is systemic. You think it has something to do with white cops shooting black guys? You think that that's systemic? You have no idea. You got no idea. We're talking about people that are intentionally, people in government. They're showing the documents. We're going to pull this back up. These are government documents and stuff that are being pulled up, which is a part of the system, to say that we don't need any more black babies, basically, in general. We don't. So we got to do something to kind of curve that population. Crazy. It's crazy.
The Aid to Families with Dependent Children program is the worst boondoggle ever created. When a sullen black woman of 17 or 18 can decide to have a baby and get welfare and food stamps and become a burden to us all, it's time to stop. Dr. Edward Allred, abortionist, 1980.
Edward Allred is the owner of one of the largest chains of abortion clinics in the United States. Not long before Allred made this statement, the Los Angeles Times had reported that his California facilities were handling referrals made by Planned Parenthood.
Even as late as the 1960s, the wealthy elite who made up the eugenics movement never tried to hide the fact that their agenda was driven by financial considerations as much as it was driven by the desire to create racial purity. A good example of this was seen in 1967 when eugenicist and Nobel Prize winner Dr. William Shockley caused a national uproar when he stated that it was a waste of taxpayer money to create better schools and welfare programs for what he called ghetto Negroes.
Deborah Jones, I want you to tell me what's going on now in 2022. How this is different. How these companies, Planned Parenthood, and some of these people who back Planned Parenthood and who have backed these eugenicists back in the day with their money and their financial contributions, I need you to show and prove how they've changed their stance. That's what I need you to do. I need you to show me and prove to me that the people, or that this whole system of abortion, and these people like Bill Gates, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, how they've changed their stance and how it's so much different today than what it was back at its inception. Let me know that. Let me know how abortion, or how blacks are viewed when it comes to abortion. Tell me how this has changed from the mouths of those people, from these people who have been writing these articles and stuff. Let's just say this article right here, and I think they just played a quote from a guy. This is back in 1980, so this is about 40 years ago. Show me how he's changed his position within those past 40 years between then 1980 to 2022. Show me that. Show me how it's different. Please do that.
He claimed to have research showing that people of African descent are genetically inferior to whites in intelligence and simply not smart enough to take advantage of programs designed to help them. To save taxpayer money, he proposed that the U.S. government implement forced birth control to lower the reproduction of the inferior classes and then issue certificates to become pregnant that would be sold on the New York Stock Exchange. Shockley was a National Committee member of Planned Parenthood and a featured speaker at least one Planned Parenthood conference.
When Florida abortion clinic owner Joyce Tarnow appeared on a local talk show, she gave the following reply when asked what America should do to help impoverished nations that are facing starvation or other natural disasters.
Time is running out for us. In 1968, Dr. Paul Ehrlich wrote The Population Bomb. And in that book, he stated a thesis that what we should be doing is helping those nations that have a reasonable chance of being able to produce their own food supplies. Those that cannot do that, for whatever reason, those people have to just sink or swim on their own. And what we do is try to help those societies become self-sustaining that have a chance to learn how to fish in order to feed themselves.
Wait a minute. Are you I just want to make sure this is clear. Are you advocating, or was he advocating, basically writing off people that have no hope of ever because of the climate or whatever problems of feeding themselves? Sort of like survival of the fittest? Or?
Right. And the thing is...
You agree with that?
Yes, I do. The more people you help...
Just let them talk. Just let them talk. And there's a lot of people, to be honest, who believes that. And it ain't these white racist Republicans. You got some that's out there, but a lot of people in the Democratic Party, they feel that way. That's why they're so upset about the overturning of Roe Vs Wade. And they're not, and just like I said before, Roe versus Wade is not going to end abortion. Just like I said in the last live stream, This isn't like an end to abortion. It's basically giving the rights or letting the states decide whether they want to ban abortion or give full abortions. That's what this is about. So it's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Roe versus Wade is big because now that a lot of these politicians who've been talking big, talking about some, well, you know, if I'm elected, I'm going to ban abortion and all of that stuff. Now we can start to put their feet to the fire and say, okay, do what you're going to do. Do what you said you're going to do. So, but again, you heard it from this lady. You just heard it. That it's better to go ahead and kill off these people, black people, who are poor, who don't have much to contribute to society. It's better to go ahead and help kill them off, so therefore we don't have to worry about them in the future. And, oh yeah, and Deborah Jones, I want you to tell me how this has changed from when this was done, when this particular video was taken. I think they said it was back in the 80s or the 90s. Show me how this has changed from then to now. Because you said that it was different. So please show me how it's different now.
Help to survive, the more people are going to be reproducing and having children beyond what we can reasonably hope to have, so that we can educate and house and feed these people.
When Joyce Tarnow retired in 2004, she told a local newspaper that she had tried to get as many people sterilized as are in my way. She also restated her views on foreign aid, saying that the United States should help those countries that can prosper, but let the others wither on the vine. Citing Haiti as an example, Tarnow said that the Haitian people should be made to stew in their own juices because they had destroyed their environment.
Hey, yo, John M., I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about this earlier before I got ready to do this live stream. No one is blaming these other justices. These white liberals are not talking about Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett and some of these other justices that voted to overturn Roe versus Wade. You know who they're targeting? The only black man on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas. They're all going after him like he just made, like he's the guy that told all of them to vote to vote to end abortion. And these white liberals are attacking him and talking all types of trash about a black man that's at the highest court. He sits on the highest court. He has a seat in the highest court in the land. You can't make it up. You can't, like he was the one who it's just the person that makes the sole decision on to overturning Roe versus Wade, and they're mad at him. They're not talking about the other folks. They're talking about him. Yeah, good point, John M. Good point. Yeah. Go back. All right.
In order to really understand the role money plays in the eugenics movement, it is important to keep in mind that its original mission was not to make a profit, but to eliminate a group of people that the elite saw as a financial burden because of things like welfare, crime, taxes, and so forth. And when you look at the wealthy individuals and corporations that fund the modern eugenics movement, you see that this has not really changed. You also see that these people are willing to pay out big money to those who can carry out their agenda. And when Planned Parenthood figured this out, they volunteered for the job. The result is that money has been poured into this organization to the point that Planned Parenthood is now a $1 billion multinational corporation that operates the largest chain of abortion clinics and birth control facilities in America.
While much of Planned Parenthood's financial success has been because of donations from these wealthy individuals and large corporations, it has also raked in billions from you and me. In 2006 alone, despite having made over $60 million in profit, Planned Parenthood received about $350 million from the U.S. government. And in 2009, Planned Parenthood will receive approximately $1 million every single day from the American taxpayer. That's $1 million every 24 hours. That comes directly out of your paycheck and mine. Now, what you may find interesting is how your money is being spent. To give you just one example, we're going to show you part of a website that Planned Parenthood launched in 2008 called TakeCareDownThere.com. The clip is titled, "I Didn't Spew," and I warn you, many of you are going to find it highly offensive, and you're going to find it especially inappropriate for children, despite the fact that is exactly who Planned Parenthood.
So what did he say? He said 2008? I think I may have missed that. Sound like he said that this is something that's recent, but let's hear it.
Created it for. As you watch this piece, remember, you helped pay for it.
Whoa, guy, where's the prophylactic?
What do you mean?
Look, oral sex is still sex, okay? If it's unprotected, you gotta reject it.
What? What? But I didn't even spew.
Guys.
Oh, Lord. Listen, boy, look at here. Hey, fair use. I just want to say parental advisory. I mean, viewer discretion is advised right now. I watched this documentary a while ago, but parental advisory, you know what I'm saying? If you got kids or something like that, you guys, you may want to kind of get them out of the room, because I don't know where this is going. Yeah, fair use. Wow, we're going to go ahead and try to get through this. This is crazy. This is crazy. And this is paid for by Planned Parenthood.
Guys, doesn't matter. Look, if you're having sex or you're getting some blowjays or whatever, you need to use a condom, because you could catch a sexually transmitted infection, even if you don't spew.
Now, does this clip say anything about how Planned Parenthood sees African Americans? You'll have to judge that for yourself. But there's no doubt that if this same video had been made by a bunch of white supremacists or the Ku Klux Klan or some neo-Nazi group, we would all understand the symbolic message behind it.
In 2007, Live Action Films of California conducted an undercover investigation of Planned Parenthood offices in several states. Under the direction of the organization's president, Lila Rose, the goal of the project was to determine whether Planned Parenthood officials would accept financial donations on the condition that the money would only be used to eliminate African Americans. The following clips are from the actual recordings of those conversations.
When I underwrite abortion, does that apply to minorities too?
If you specifically want it to underwrite an abortion for a minority person, you can target it that way. You can specify that that's how you want it spent.
Okay, yeah, because there's definitely way too many black people in Ohio, so I'm just trying to do my part.
Okay, whatever.
Well, blacks especially need abortions too, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, for whatever reason, we'll accept the money.
So the abortion could be, you know, I could give money specifically for a black baby. That'd be the purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. If you wanted to designate that you wanted your gift to be used to help an African American woman in need, then we would certainly make sure that that gift was earmarked specifically for that purpose.
Great, because I really face trouble with affirmative action, and I don't want my kids being disadvantaged, you know, against black kids. I just had a baby. I want to put it in his name, you know. You know, so that's definitely possible.
Oh, always.
So would it be possible for me to donate that money specifically for these minority groups so that they could have access to abortions?
Yes, it would be.
Wonderful. And could I specify that abortion be done, or those abortions be done for a particular minority group, or how does that work?
If you wish, you can.
Okay. So for example, the black community.
I want people to get the context behind this, all right? Also, fair use. Fair use, brother Bill. Thank you. The context behind this is that this guy's posing as a person who wants to donate to Planned Parenthood. He's calling in and he's acting like he wants to give money to Planned Parenthood. So he's basically saying that if I give this money, will you guys make sure that black people are, that the abortions are geared towards black people, right? And you got to listen. You have to listen to these responses. So I just want to go ahead and put that out there.
Community in Tulsa, because I have connections with that. Would it be possible to give the money specifically for that?
You sure can.
Wonderful, great. So can I give you my credit card number?
Yes.
Wonderful. Just one more thing. The abortions will be done specifically for the black community abortions.
I will mark it in such a way that definitely it will.
Oh, great. On a black baby.
Yes.
Thank you. Great.
The exact amount we charge right now is $450 for an abortion.
Okay, $450.
And we can definitely designate it for an African American.
Wonderful. Okay, and if I want to make to fund, because this is if I wanted to help fund multiple abortions, could you also specify that this could be done for a specific group? Well, I'm really excited, because I really faced trouble with affirmative action. I don't want my kids to be disadvantaged, against blacks in college, and the less blacks out there, the better. So.
Yeah, it's a strange time for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. My extension is 304.
When this material was released to the public, Planned Parenthood's defense was to claim that the employees who made these statements were not reflecting the organization's corporate position. But in 1986,
Leader for Christ, this guy, he was posing, or he was basically trying to get. I guess what I'm trying to say was that he's not a guy who was working with Planned Parenthood. He was calling different Planned Parenthood centers so he could be able to get these recordings to bring it out to people like us to say that, yo, this is how evil and wicked these people are. So he's basically trolling them. That's what he was doing. He was basically trolling them to kind of show everyone like, yo, this is how wicked these people are. If I'm a person acting like I'm going to get that money, they're willing to have these abortions and have it targeted specifically for black people, and they don't care. So he's working undercover. That's what he's doing. Yeah. So she says, okay, thank God. Yeah. So that's basically what he was doing. He was getting these secret recordings, posing like he wanted to, get this money, like he was going to give them money to perform abortions. But his thing was that if they, if I give you my money, you guys go direct it towards black people only, correct? And you're hearing these ladies saying yes on multiple occasions. And these are different facilities that he's calling in different cities and states. So that's what that was.
Planned Parenthood's national president, Faye Wattleton, made the following statement during an interview on CNN.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Dorn, and if I may finish, we have received contributions from people who want to support us because they want all welfare mothers and all black women to stop having children.
What Ms. Wattleton was conceding in this CNN interview, and what Live Action Films found in their undercover investigation, was acknowledged years before by a previous Planned Parenthood president. During a speech in Philadelphia in January 1966, Planned Parenthood President Alan Guttmacher stated that some of his colleagues appeared to have racial motives for their involvement with the organization. Not surprisingly, one of Guttmacher's acquaintances later warned him that in the future, he should not be making comments like that in public. The person who gave that warning obviously understood that Planned Parenthood's racial agendas and attitudes are best kept out of the public. And that has been a philosophy that Planned Parenthood has embraced for many years.
To this day, Planned Parenthood has never disavowed either Margaret Sanger or her plans for targeted population control. In fact, the organization's highest award is still named after her and has often been given to people associated with the American eugenics movement, including John D. Rockefeller in 1967. Then, in 2009, the award was given to Hillary Clinton, who said,
How many people was running around here in 2006 when she was running against Donald Trump? Not 2006, 2016. When she was running against Donald Trump. We gonna vote for Hillary because Donald Trump is a racist, and he said all types of stuff about that one woman and grabbing women by their genitals, which was wrong. Although he had said that behind closed doors, but it was still inappropriate. But they wanted to drive that point home. But this woman got the Margaret Sanger Award. But we need Hillary Clinton in office. Black folks love Hillary Clinton. Not all black folks. But we need to have her in office. We're going to support a woman who got the Margaret Sanger Award. The woman, Margaret Sanger, who was a eugenicist, and she started a business called Planned Parenthood to carry out her eugenics program.
said in her acceptance speech that she was in awe of Margaret Sanger and admired her vision. She also announced that the U.S. government was increasing its funding for United Nations family planning programs by 130%.
Frankly, I had thought that at the time Roe was decided, there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, United States.
Hold on, y'all type who this lady is in the comment section. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She just passed, what was it, last year or the year before last? Who was Ruth Bader Ginsburg and what was her title? So I know that this is I know that you guys are kind of behind right now. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg, what office did she hold before she actually died? What is she most known for? Y'all let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to give y'all a couple of minutes. Yes, she was. She was a Supreme Court judge. Now, a lot of you guys, if you continue to stay on these internet streets, there's a lot of people who are praising Ruth Bader Ginsburg because she was a person who highly supported abortion, especially for black women. And a lot of these leftist people, black and white, probably Hispanic and all of that, they praise her and they wish that she was alive and she was still on the Supreme Court. That's why even when she died, a lot of people were just so distraught because they knew that once she died, and that's why people were like kind of upset with Donald Trump, because I think Amy Coney Barrett, who is a conservative, she replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And that's why a lot of these white liberals were upset, because they knew that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the person who actually was able to sway the vote to keep Roe Vs Wade a thing to be written in the law. So, since a lot of people, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna back this up real quick because I want you guys, I want you guys to hear this in this context, right? All right, hold on one second. Let me go ahead. There we go.
One of Guttmacher's acquaintances later warned him that in the future he should not be making comments like that in public. The person who gave that warning obviously understood that Planned Parenthood's racial agendas and attitudes are best kept out of the public. And that has been a philosophy that Planned Parenthood has embraced for many years.
To this day, Planned Parenthood has never disavowed either Margaret Sanger or her plans for targeted population control. In fact, the organization's highest award is still named after her and has often been given to people associated with the American eugenics movement, including John D. Rockefeller in 1967, then programs by 130%.
Sorry,
Frankly, I had thought that at the time Roe was decided, there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, United States Supreme Court Justice, July 2009.
When it comes to exposing eugenics in modern America, that quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the smoking gun. I mean, here is the most radical advocate of legalized abortion that's ever been on the Supreme Court, openly admitting in the New York Times that the real issue was never women's rights or privacy or reproductive freedom or being pro-choice. No, what she is saying is that the driving force behind making abortion legal was to exterminate certain groups of people.
And that was in 2009. I want y'all to remember that. She said that in 2009. This is recent history. This is recent history.
In other words, it was the Supreme Court's way of legitimizing a philosophy that's been pushed for the last 150 years by these ultra-wealthy elitists who believe they have the right to eliminate anyone that they have decided is inferior. And Planned Parenthood became the golden child of these people because they're the ones who figured out how to put this philosophy into practice. It was Planned Parenthood who figured out that the way to make eugenics work is not to kill people, but to convince the targeted group to commit cultural suicide. And the way you do that is with birth control and abortion. And Planned Parenthood has been successful at this because, unlike other eugenics organizations, they have always been able to keep their agenda hidden, not only from the public, but often from their own people. I mean, there are Planned Parenthood employees and volunteers all over this country who I'm convinced have no idea what they're actually mixed up in. But when Ruth Bader Ginsburg said what she said in July of 2009, she let the cat out of the bag. She made it clear that abortion was legalized in order to eliminate people that she and other elitists just like her don't want there to be too many of. And I think we all know who they're talking about. The fact is, when you actually sit down and research this issue, what you come to see is that if blacks had never been stolen out of Africa and brought here in chains, there would never have been a eugenics movement in the first place. There would never have been government sterilization boards. No one would have ever suggested putting birth control chemicals in the water supply. No one would have ever called for the legalization of abortion. And you would have never heard the terms population control and family planning. I mean, any way you cut it, if slavery had never existed, Planned Parenthood would not exist today.
In January,
Alright guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop this right here. Because I want to make sure that I don't end up going too much longer, man. I got an early flight in the morning. I'm going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. So we going to leave that last part. I think we got another 20 minutes left. So the next live stream that I do, Laura willing, next Sunday, we are going to continue to cover this. But yes, I'm telling you, if you guys do not know, or if you guys want to know the name of this documentary, it is named Ma'afa 21. I think Brother Built for Speed put that link in the chat earlier. If you guys didn't have a chance to click on it, it is MAAFA 21. Let me see if I can pull this up. So yeah, so this is the title up here. All right, so that's the documentary. If you guys want to go and check this out on your own time. But yeah, like I said, we're going to cover the last part. If you guys, here's the link right here. You guys go and check it out. Click on that link if you guys are interested in watching it. But if you guys have not seen my other two videos, the other two live streams that I did, go ahead and check it out. I'm actually going to make this I'm going to put this as a playlist, as a series, so people can go ahead and watch both of those videos plus this one, and then so you guys can kind of be up to speed of the conversation that we've been having concerning this particular conversation. All right, so yeah, he put the link out there. We got John M. He says the Georgia Congressman Jamal Bowman is a pro-choice pastor. Right, you even got, what's that guy's name? Raphael Warnock. I think he's in Congress. What is he, a senator? Is he a senator? Yeah, I think he's a senator, and he's a pro-choice pastor, and he is a pastor of, or was a pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and that is the church that is in Atlanta. I think it's the most famous church in Atlanta. That's where Dr. Martin Luther King used to preach at. So, yeah, it's I mean, just sad. It's just sad. Yeah, GCP said, I pray that God open eyes because there are pastors that support this garbage and church members. Yeah, I totally agree. This is a spiritual warfare for real, you guys. Oh, actually, I found that one video that I wanted to play. Because, you know, sometimes people, man, they don't believe me when I talk. So sometimes you got to get some of these celebrities. Let me see. Okay. All right. Yeah, because sometimes, you know, some people, they don't want to listen to folks like me. They got to listen to some of these celebrities talk. Because sometimes these celebrities, for some reason, they make more sense than, you know, guys like me on YouTube. So let me see. I'm scrolling through these videos, and I played it earlier. This is a video with Kanye West and Nick Cannon, you know. They don't listen to you unless you claim that you woke. Where is that? Where is that video? I may have passed it. Let me see if I can go back up. We'll go ahead and share my screen. Oh, yeah, John M. said Raphael Warnock. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, so hold on. Let me, yeah, this video was, actually, I got a well, I won't say a notification, but this popped up, this TikTok account popped up on my timeline, and I was just scrolling through these different videos and stuff, and I came across the one with Kanye West and what's the guy's name? Nick Cannon. Ah, man, I can't find it. Where is it? Is it up here? Trying to see if I passed it. Oh man, I don't see it. It's up here because I was just playing it earlier. I wonder is this it right here, but let me see. No, that's not it. Man, it's one with Kanye. Oh, here it is right here. My bad. Here you go.
Over 22,500,000 black people aborted strategically and on purpose. Planned Parenthood was set up and placed in minority communities to kill black people. Here we go. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was an avowed racist whose goal was to reduce the black population in America, and she succeeded. 80% of abortion clinics in America are in minority neighborhoods. Over 22,500,000 black babies have been aborted in 50 years. Over 1,000 black babies are aborted every day. Abortion is the #1 killer of black lives in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Abortion kills more black people than HIV, homicide, diabetes, accidents, cancer, and heart disease. Watch this one. Combined. Combined, 3,000 shootings in Chicago a year, 700 murders. You got to put that with heart disease. You got to put that with HIV. You got to put that with diabetes. You got to put that with just accidents. And you put that with cancer. And it doesn't add up to specifically abortions. And if you think about that number, 1,000 black babies are aborted each day. Message.
All right, so I just had to play that for the people who are not convinced. You know, just listening to some random guy on YouTube, me. But you know, there are people who are having these conversations and talking about it. I know that, you know, people know that Kanye is crazy. You know, but I mean, he was spot on. He was spot on. And basically, from everything that we just watched, I mean, he repeated basically what was in the documentary. GCP says, Brother Alex, to keep exposing them. I thank God for his sovereignty, for opening my eyes. I hate I voted for Democratic, but glory to God, open my eyes. In 2024, my vote will change. Yeah, amen. Yeah, he said correct. Yeah, he was correct on that. So, but yeah, I will say that as these elections are coming up, you guys really pay attention. Really pay attention to what is being said on both sides. You know what I'm saying? Don't just look at Democrats and say, I'm just going to vote Democrat. Don't just look at Republicans and just say, I'm just going to vote Republican. Really listen to what these people are saying. Really know who you are putting your vote behind. Really know who you are donating your money to. You know what I'm saying? Because it's, you know, just like Larry Davis said, you know what I'm saying? The only way this is possible is to give yourself over to the lies of Satan. Yeah, we cannot give ourselves over to the lies of Satan. He says, put that link up. What link are you talking about? This link with Kanye West, or are you talking about the link with what is it to this documentary? So yeah, but anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to get up out of here. I think this is a pretty good conversation, pretty good live stream, and yeah, I think that these are conversations that need to be had. They really do. Not just for the element of discussing race, discussing racism, systemic racism, however you want to frame it. He says, "Can you start a Spotify podcast?" I don't know. I mean, with my schedule and how busy I am, I don't even know how often or how would I be able to start a podcast based on, you know, because I can barely even do this as much as I want to. Believe it or not, you know, a lot of times I do want to go live and I do want to cover a lot of topics, but I just got so much going on to where I can't really sit down and dedicate a few hours of my time to, you know, a podcast or the YouTube. But trust me, if I had he said the Kanye link, I'm gonna go ahead and drop it right here. Yeah, that's the TikTok link. You can go ahead and check that out, John M. But yeah, I don't really have a lot of time, man. I really just don't have a lot of time to do it. Because trust me, if I had more time, man, I'll probably be live all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'll be, you know, even when I was home, even when I wasn't traveling, I went live quite often. And you guys know that I continuously had content putting up. So, but just right now, and actually what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to save up for a laptop, because I do have a work laptop, but I don't have like the administrative, what do you call it? I don't have the administrative capabilities. So like a lot of my software, I can't download it to the computer because it's asking for a password, for the admin password, and I don't have it. So what I've done is that I've downloaded all of my software to a Buffalo drive. So once I finally get me a laptop that I'm going to take on the road, then you guys will probably start seeing more live streams from me, more content, because now I can take that software that's on my Buffalo drive and continue to produce content, do video editing and all of that stuff while I'm on the road. So, but yeah, thank you for understanding. All right, guys, I'm getting ready to get up out of here. But, you know, as always, before we get up out of here, we got to shout out those who are members of the channel. And these are the people who have clicked that join button below and they've become members to the channel, monthly supporters. And we're going to start with Brother Roger Sherman. We also have It's Up Now. I think I see him up in here. Gospel Centered Podcast. He's up in the chat. Say hi to him. Ryan Robertson. We got Sister Leader for Christ. She's up in here. Miss Ephesians 2:10. Dunamis Brockis. Joseph Roberts. Nicole Smith. Latrell Hassel. D-Math. Ambassador Everett. I'm Chris Duke. Anthony Hall. Darrell Lloyd. And Montree Sure. Give it up for him, you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being supporters of the channel. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get ready to get up out of here. But yeah, like I said, I am going to be in Kansas City. Hopefully I can meet up with Jason Brown, and because he's in Kansas City as well. But yeah, I gotta get off. Gotta prepare for this early flight in the morning. My plane takes off at 8:15, so I gotta be there around like 6. Gotta leave my house around 4 so I can be there on time and all of that type of stuff. But yes, hit the like button, like Built for Speed just said. My OBS studio is acting up. It's gonna come back in a minute. I don't know why it does that. But yeah, thank you guys. But yeah, on your way out, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Like, rate, share. And you guys have a blessed day. Enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you guys next time.